Hey, it's Brian Mudd. This is my cheat sheet for Thursday, January 24th. I'm going to delve into the local real estate market. A listener asked a question that I've received from some others and really hits at a sticking point for many people that are looking to buy distressed properties locally, and that is being met with big-time investors and having to compete with them for properties. I do want to get through some quick hitters though real quick because I have a few stories here that I think are really cool and really instructive and might surprise you. The first one, travel expert for USA Today did some research that was just stunning. We've known that typically the best day to fly is Tuesday, just in the average week, and that oftentimes you can get some better pricing maybe on Wednesday as well. Well, we have the most significant research to date about just why you should always be booking your flights on Tuesday or Wednesday if you can. Get this, the average flight is 35% less expensive on Tuesday or Wednesday. The average flight anywhere within the United States of America is 35% cheaper on average those 2 days. Big, big difference. If nothing else, if it's convenience factor and those days don't always sound great, at least do your own comparison pricing. See what it would be on that Tuesday or Wednesday versus another day you're going to be booking your flight that week and see if there is. Because it's an average. You know, there are some of those flights that, you know, it's going to be the same price regardless. But that's huge. Also, here's one on with your kids that is pretty cool. Got a new research study that shows kids and their reactions to TV and video games. This studied young children, children that were an average of 5 years old. They wanted to catch them at the early end in development. And here's what the research study found, and it actually will make sense. Is there a difference between TV watching and video game watching for your kids? Could potentially one of them be better than the other, or even be beneficial at all? A lot of times we deride the idea of watching TV or video games. Certainly doesn't help your kids get out and get moving around and, you know, could lead to some bad habits, including obesity at a young age. Well, there's interesting dynamics that are changing within the video game market. And first of all, hands down, video games, on average, are better for your children, especially young children that are in the developmental stages, than TV. And the reason will make common sense to you. TV is what? It's an extraordinarily passive activity for the most part. You sit there and stare at a screen and listen to stuff, right? Video games are anything but. Video games naturally are interactive. And what does that require? Well, it requires your kids to think, be strategic in how they are dealing with the game and trying to progress in the game. So that alone is better mentally for the development of your kids than television watching. But here's the interesting thing. What's happening with video games today? They're becoming more virtual in nature, in which you're the game, right? So what's happening with a lot of kids that are playing these video games? They're suddenly getting exercise again. It's starting to come full circle. And what we're actually seeing is not only is there a mental benefit to playing video games over TV watching, but also kids are now getting more physical activity playing video games than they used to because of things like the Kinect and the next generation Wii U, in which your kids are part of the video game. So if they're playing a video game for a couple hours, well, they could be getting a couple hours worth of exercise playing the video game. That's not so bad, right? So anyway, you know, it's not all bad for video games, and it's definitely better to have your kids playing them than watching TV. So there you go. Let me go to a quick hit around this research study on smoking. Then I'm going to get into the real estate thing. We have new research with current life expectancies on smoking, and the news is not good. The average length of time that a smoker will shave off of their life is, ready for this? 1 solid decade. With life expectancies continuing to rise, we're now up to 10 years of life lost for the average lifetime smoker. That's huge. Obviously, well more than 10% of your life. The average life expectancy being in the neighborhood of 76.5 years right now. Now, it's not all bad news if you're on the younger end. We've heard for some time that you can end up recovering from years of smoking to a certain extent if you stop early enough in life. And this research does also confirm that you can recover if you smoke as an adult up to age 40, but stop at 40, that you can recover 90% of what you lost at that point. 90% of what's lost by the age of 40, which means you smoke from, let's say, 18 to 40, you're going to shave an average of 4 years off of your life doing that if you quit by your 40th birthday, but you save an extra 6 by doing so. All right, now for the real estate. This is complicated. The listener, and I don't want this to be a tough love situation, but it kind of needs to be. I mentioned recently that I've been receiving a fair amount of feedback from listeners that are frustrated with the positive information I've been sharing regarding real estate. First, let me tell you where I'm coming from. You probably know this, but I think it's important to state every once in a while. I don't cheerlead anything, which is to say, I don't have a dog in the hunt, or if I do because I own a home, it's because I took my own advice. So I'm never going to tell you something that's going to be self-serving for any particular interest. I'm going to tell you what I believe to be the case because I'm an analyst, and that's what I'm charged to do. And, for example, the latest information in December showed that the average Palm Beach County properties rose 35% year over year in value. Now, I made the call December last year that I thought real estate would be the single best place to put your money in 2012. I feel darn good that if you took my advice on that, you made 35% on your money in a year on average. That's what I'm interested in. Using my research, my analysis to get you ahead of the curve that can make real tangible differences for you and your family if you're making certain decisions. All right? With local real estate, people are frustrated that there are so many investors, so many people coming to the table with cash, that it can be difficult for you to obtain the property you want to obtain. There are, in at least a third of all listings that are selling, competitive offers out there, which means that necessarily there are losers for everybody who is bidding on a property. But then you go over to distressed properties, and that's where it really heats up. In today's question, let me actually read the first paragraph of it. I'm listening to you talk about the great housing market in our area, but I never hear anyone talk about why. There are two conglomerates buying up homes under $200,000. Cash offers, sight unseen, as soon as they hit the market. They could fix them up and rent them out for 5 to 7 years. And they don't think it's fair. Well, first off, it is fair. It's a free market. Now, you might not like it. And if you don't like it, you could always advocate your state legislatures to, your state representatives to change the state law and rein that in. Certain communities, for example, don't allow investors to buy properties. Certain countries do have rules about who can buy and how many different types of investment properties they can buy. We could always advocate for that. I personally am not a fan of it. The other piece of it is the idea that somehow or another it's creating an artificial marketplace. Well, the reason it's not is because they're cash deals. I would be concerned if you had people that were putting no money down and were buying up all these homes with competitive offers, because then they could be set to default. But these are cash buyers. In fact, through Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast for the aggregate of 2012, there were more than 60% of all deals were done in cash, which means that this is a sustainable practice. But there's also another end to this. While you might be frustrated that there are competitive offers out there for these properties, and that it could actually be driving up property values on the lower end, think about the other end of that coin. How many people have been trapped in underwater mortgages for years? How many people need to sell? And this helps them obtain better property values, recover some of what they lost, move on with their life. How much of this cash going into the local marketplace is helping the economy? When you're talking about all of these properties are being sold and all of that cash is moving a lot of different places. Not to mention that these houses, these distressed ones, are being fixed up, right? That helps the economy further. So while you might be frustrated that you might not be able to buy the property you want to, there are plenty of people on the other end that are benefiting from it, and that it is a good thing, and that it is a healthy thing. And here's the other piece of it. You're competing against pros in every asset class there is. Over 80% of all trading activity on Wall Street, stock market, is professional. Over 80%. So is it unfair that you pay a certain price for an investment in a company because it was driven up by pros? Gold, silver, over half of those are driven up by governments. Not even investors, but governments around the world. Is it unfair that you compete against investors and governments for those currencies, for those commodities? It's just part of economics. So it is fair. It is sustainable. And I'm sorry that you aren't able to obtain the property you want to, but here's the other thing. As you identified, it's two conglomerates buying up homes under $200,000, which, by the way, I can confirm that. I've known about them for several months. Only a third of all properties being sold in our local real estate market are distressed properties. Of those, only 18% are foreclosures. So what you're actually talking about Only 18% of the properties in the market under $200,000 that are being affected. So that is still a big segment of the marketplace, but it's far from the entire marketplace. And maybe you should change your strategy from trying to buy foreclosed properties. So I'm sorry, tough love. And that's a long cheat sheet for today. But I felt it beneficial, and I've heard so much about it that I wanted to say what I felt needed to be said. Enjoy your day, and we shall see you tomorrow.